massive. It's sacred. Women's tree, but what's got to happen is everyone here has to go and put their hands on the tree. That's obligatory. While you're doing that, I'll go over there and I'll speak to the spirits. Now I have to speak to them. I can't just think it in my head. It has to be done properly. I've got to introduce you, Mob, to them so they know who you are, what your intentions are. Whenever you go onto a sacred site, you must do that. If you're ever in that situation and someone doesn't, you pick them up and say, I can't go any further. And in this case, you must touch that tree. You're introducing yourself to the women. And without the women's permission, we can't go. Can we? Now the accepted explanation for this, it was done by a deranged Czech with reduced mental capacities who walked out of here one day with a chisel. See those lifts up there? I want you to try to imagine, if you're a deranged Czech, how you reach them. It goes up to there, further up again. I mean, it's a lot. Because Proto-Egyptian, the manual Lord Showcroft, this here was the first time it was compiled in 1999. The deranged Czech was supposed to be here in 1975. And on the back side, this side here, that's impressive. This is wall 2. Wall 1 did have a roof across the top and they blew it up. It's now exposed.
Oh, wow.
Now, do you notice something about this? Can you see which way all the glyphs there face? And they face in the opposite direction. Now, the experts in Australia said the cartouches are done incorrectly. Well, cartouches are done in squares. That's a serec when they're in rectangles. And they're facing in the opposite direction to the flow of most of these other ones. And they said therefore it's fake. But that's not true. Laird Scranton found proof for us and sent it to us. They found a pottery that was done in 2006. Well, it was just like this. And
Stephen, where are we at?
Sorry?
Where are we at?
Where we're at a place called Carryong, and this is actually the glyphs of Carryong. And we've got one wall there, another wall there, and a third wall up there. And what we found is the wall up there was most likely inscribed by Egyptians, and it's a different style to this, completely different. Arnie Bev told us, and she is the last full descent Darkinghong elder, she told us that our people did this. We created this. And when the Egyptians came here, they were inspired and they took a lot of this back and made their own story. And it starts up there with Nefertitib and Neferturu. Down here, this was much lower. This has all been filled up with fill. A lot of fill. It was much lower down. In fact, a glyph over there, just down there, is gone. It's disappeared completely. And that was really bad what happened here. But anyway, that's what happened. But that's still here.
How many hieroglyphic symbols?
Around 300. Here. But there's another set of glyphs, because they all say this was fake and it was done by a deranged Czech, not my words, what they've written down, in 1975, walking out of here with a chisel. No hammer, no ladder, just a chisel. And therefore he did it all. But no one saw him do it, he just walked out with it. A lot of people have come here and defaced this at many different times. But if you look at that, the masonry involved in that, and to cut this into this wall, there's somebody that's done this that knows their business. They're not just some punter off the street wandering around with a chisel saying, I'm going to make a story. It's quite stunning. And there's a couple of circles, and I'll show you a couple more, where the circles are complete like an arc, and there's no straight line like a chisel. So we're looking at stuff there that I think is incredibly ancient. It's, how can I put this? It's a story about creation. this one here,
Where does the story start?
over here. And I thank Laird Scranton for this. It starts with this stick man. Now what we found with Laird Scranton, did some study on this, is there are around about 50 Dogon glyphs here. Now the road here is called Bambara. Now Bambara, if you look up Wikipedia, which has got everything in there, it will tell you Bambara's got two entries. One is a road in Gosford and the other one is the neighbouring tribe to the Dogon. Now we've got about 50, according to Laird, 50 glyphs here that are Dogon, and the road is called Bambara. I believe this is a, how can I put this? It's a sacred place for everybody. And when we look at this particular one there, according to the Dogon, that means first man, black man, first man. Okay, and as you go down there, you'll start to see a couple of things take place. Particularly, I want you to look at this one here, and you'll see the first one. She's got the three there. Now, in Proto-Egyptian, that's the symbol for chemistry. But when we go down to this one, he's now developed two, a bit stronger, two arms. When we run down to this one here, he's got even stronger. It's as if he's growing. Then you come across to this piece here, which I believe is some sort of word for, this means to give life. And that one I believe is some sort of laboratory where things are taking place. And that means sacred place. And the star is placed there. The stars are very important. And what we will find, and there's one just down there, is this is the most common glyph you're going to find there.
And that would be?
Well, the public, we'll see what the public call it. The public call these 8 glyphs, there's 8 like that, the UFO glyphs. All right? And of course there's a major story about a sighting of UFOs here in 1990, where thousands of people saw UFOs hovering over here and over the water here. So what that is, and this one here, I think that's the splicing of genes. I think this is a story about creation. Down here, you've got the word that means majesty. You've got something going on in some sort of construction. And of course up here you've got the, I'm sure you're familiar with that one, the Sphinx. Okay, that's been drawn there too. And
Now, you would say that this is rather simple hieroglyphic symbols
yes,
before they become more sophisticated.
that is exactly
over the
right,
time.
yeah. And you've seen the manual, they called it Proto-Egyptian, which is the precursor, the beginning, the base from which the hieroglyphs evolved. Now I never until Auntie Bev told us this, because she didn't say it for a long period of time, she said, this is ours. We wrote this. That is theirs, the Egyptians, and I'll show you that section in a second we go up there. That last panel there, particularly the first half of it, I got 100% match up to Proto-Egyptian, but down here I got 42%. So more than half of these glyphs aren't in the manual. And that's because this is the beginning. This is where we started doing this. And of course we will take you and show you another set of glyphs that are separate to this, and we're not done by this mob, we're not done by this mob, but we're done by another mob again, because it's so different than the way it's made and the way it's cut. So you're looking at multiple authorship of this at different times. Now I can tell you what the women did here. Auntie Bev, who was the last full descent woman, and what she says is gospel. She said the women would come here for thousands of years, and this sounds a bit gross, but it's not, and they would coat it with their urine, women's urine. And they said it would clean it and honour it. Not men. No, we couldn't stand there and do what we do. It wasn't that way. And they would sit in here and do a ceremony. But I can also tell you something else, which is interesting about this place. If we were to leave you here on your own for 5 minutes, where's Evan? Hey Evan,
Yes.
if I was to leave a lady in here for 5 minutes, what would happen to them?
Nausea, cramps, people having to lift her out.
Yeah.
There's something in here that doesn't agree. But fine in mixed company. But by itself, never works for some reason.
It could be because you're not coating it at women's urine and they're expecting that. It didn't happen. I'm not really sure on that. But I can tell you, if you look back now, you'll see the curved tree. This is the tree we came from. But this, to me, is, I've been told by my elders, this is one of the most important sites in this country, if not the world. When they knew about that explosion that was taking place, they were petrified they were destroying the site. They have damaged the site, but they haven't destroyed it.
Now, Stephen, you think different authors, different time periods, approximately half of the symbols match hieroglyphic writings in Egypt?
The ones up there, it's 95%.
Okay.
Down here, much less.
You did mention dogons.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a star connection here
Oh,
on
absolutely.
those symbols?
Oh, got you. Everything, everywhere we go, there's always this connection up there. And I think I mentioned this before. My elder told me, and that elder, Carno Walker, is probably the most important Old Way elder in this country. He told me if I go onto a site and I can't make a star connection, leave the site because it's not legitimate. I mean, there's a star there, just to make it clear if anyone wasn't sure what this is about, but it's everywhere. Original people believe that we are related to the Pleiadians. And we have one dreaming story that goes to every tribe in Australia, because all our dreaming stories are tribal, region specific. But the story of the seven sisters of the Pleiades is in every dreaming story, and I've been all over the country. And all the sacred sites, they've always got the seven sisters side, and it's considered the most sacred. So yes, everything relates to there. If it doesn't relate to there, it shouldn't be here. I mean, that one there means crystal ship. What sort of crystal ship do original people have? Well, they do, but we don't. But they do. And that's about it arriving here. So yes, it's everywhere, without exception.
Your experience talking to the original people.
Thank you. I love you saying that because we call ourselves original, not aboriginal.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
original meaning not original, but they're actually original.
Yeah.
Normal and abnormal.
That's
not
why we
normal.
don't like the ab. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Original.
I really appreciate that.
Now, talking to them,
Hmm.
you got the feeling that they can read those symbols here? They can read the story? Or they're just trying to understand?
Arnie Bev knew more than anyone else because she sat on the shoulders. They call her Little Miss Bossy when she was a kid, and she went with them and they taught her. She knew bits of it. She knew bits. But now, nobody. They're gone. I mean, those flag signs mean God. This is an incredibly spiritual story. It's got 2 or 3 stories. It's got creation in there. It's got a story about the spirits, and it's got a story about the mob from up there. And some of our UFOs are plummeting. They're not like that. They're with the legs up and the body is pointing down. And that's the story of the story we've heard from our elders about the spaceship that crashed in Bambara. And I think this side's much harder to see as a result of it. So when we see those UFOs plummeting, and I've got to try and find the damn things now. Let me have a look. Where are they? Well, there's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another one going the right way around there. It's got 5 arms, and that's traditional. But I'll try and find the one that's crashing the other way around. There's somewhere. There's another.
There's one small one.
Ah, there's another one again.
Yeah, one small
5
one.
again.
Yeah.
With 5 arms. Always 5 arms with dots down the bottom. That's. Evan, where's the crashing one?
What's that, sorry?
Where's the crashing UFO?
Yeah, okay.
Another small one.
All right.
Let's go in the...
We'll find it.
Yeah, because we're used to it being up here.
I know.
It's definitely on this side.
I know it is. I know.
I'll
Where is
just
it?
come through.
Well, I'll take you up next to the other section there. I'll show you some carving.
There's one.
Yeah, we've done
There's
that
an
now.
upside down
Oh,
one
what's
there.
Yeah.
So is that an upside down
That's
one?
an upside down one there.
Oh, good. That's good.
Next
At
to
least there's
it.
one.
Oh, there's another one there.
Yeah. And then it will go stronger with the arms.
This is about
That's
6.
how it ends up. Yeah. It ends up with wings because the three circle person ends up flying.
It's where there's
And at the moment, holding the pyramid. See the pyramid he's holding there on that hand?
Yeah.
But further on he grows and he becomes fully enlightened and he flies. Yeah, so it's a gradual process. But to tell me some deranged person with an IQ of 70, I walked in here and did this, it's like an insult to my intelligence. But mainstream have accepted that as a legitimate excuse for what happened. But I mean, I'm going to show you another set of glyphs that tell me where the burial took place. And by the way, they filled up the burial chamber. There was a 10-metre chamber underneath there you could walk through. They filled it up completely. They destroyed it. 10 metres. You can stand in it. And so it was the size where you could put a combi in there. It was that big. And it ran up right up against that wall. And they filled the whole thing up and destroyed it. This country is the worst. I reckon any other country in the world, you have a better chance of being an archaeologist than here. It's shocking. Now up here, yeah. Now we've got a problem with this one because that's fake. You know what? I had a 6-year-old kid here that came once, and I said, "Pick the fake one." He said, "That one," straight away.
Different font.
And also, all the gods are done in symbolic form, like sitting like that, or the flag. They're not done in specific creature form like that. And you can see how that's been cut and how this has been cut, completely different. Now, what I find interesting are the circles. This one here and that one there. That's where you're starting to push the story about chisels. And there's a Sarek. And that one actually reads Nefer-Djeb, who was the son of Khufu. Now two sons came, Nefer-Djeb and Nefertari, and Nefertari died. He got bit by a snake, twice according to that, which is really difficult. Once I understand, but twice is really poor form, to be honest. But he got bitten twice.
How about mushroom?
Mushroom.
And what do you notice about this one? See this one here? And that one. I'll give you a clue. Look at the foot.
Yeah.
Look which way it faces. Now look at that one. Which way does it go?
Yeah.
Opposite direction. I'm told the wisdom of Thoth is written in mirror reverse. That is about Nefer-Djeb to there. And you can see the difference in the size once you get over here. I believe this is where, from this side it's 95%, on that side it drops back a fair bit. I believe they were given this area, and you can see the area, to tell their story, which they did there. And I believe this was done by Nefer-Djeb or Nefertari's mom. Once you go to there, I'm reversing it. I don't believe the same person who did that. Different person. So basically what they said, they wrote their story here about the two boats, and there's the boats there. See that one there? Stranded. And they landed here. And we looked after them. We cared for them because they were pretty knocked up because they'd already gone down to Wollongong and they'd been attacked there and some of them been killed. So they made their way up here pretty knocked up, and then the boats got wrecked here. And then we looked after them, and then they repaired their boats. But Nefertari never left because I've got his bone. I'll show it to you when we go to Byron Bay because I didn't bring it up on the plane. And I've also got a metal artefact that was found here, which is 72% aluminium, 3% copper, and 24% not on the periodic table. And do you know what the scientist said, because I got it analysed by a university? He said to me, this metal is harder than steel. He said, if you could make this, you could make billions of dollars. I said, no, I can't. And he told me the same thing. He said, we tried everything to find where that 24% come from. It just doesn't come from here. And that was found just around the corner near the burial site with the bone. And I've had the bone analysed in a base hospital. And they told me they were going to give it 6 times the normal dose on the CAT scan thing because of the fact the patient won't complain. And came back and told me then it's got the same density as a human bone and it's ancient. If I had mitochondrial DNA done it, it'd be Egyptian. But do you think I could get that done in this country? No way.
And the lichen growth in the grooves is important. That's a
that was
significant
something
thing.
Von Daniken picked
Eric
up.
Von Daniken mentioned
He said
that
some
one.
of this lichen here is hundreds of years old. How can they say it's 50 years old? They're idiots. Oh, then he said a lot of other things about it. But basically what he was saying is some of the lichen here, you get an expert here to look at it, and I'll tell you, you can date this in the hundreds of years, not 10, 20, 30. And it just isn't. It's just what it is. And of course, we'll go up further and there's more. Now what I'm going to take you to next is the one time where I'm going to give you all the quiz. And I think no one's going to get it, even you. I think this time is the first time I'm going to feel like I got one on you. We're going to take you to another site that proves this is legitimate. Because the argument is about this site. And what's happened is I've seen pictures of that without the ears on it. So see how they use it? They've done this deliberately. They've come in and done this, put the cross on there, the whole business, and then they've said it's fake because it's done like that. But you look at that, and you look at everything else, and that's the biggest bloody thing anyway. And of course there is one thing that's buried down there now, just there, where you're even standing, that's gone. And
Yeah, when they filled in the wall, they covered it. Filled in the floor, I should say.
here's what it did look like. That's a really important glyph. I believe that's the most important glyph there. That's golden staff there, and I believe that's the creation. That woman has got a big stomach. I think that's really important, and I think that's a baby. So that one they covered up because they don't want that one out there. By the way, that's not in it's not in hieroglyphs, or it's not in anything else. It's just their story. All right. Now, film that for as long as you want. We won't go until you've got all the film you want from that. Thanks, mate. I don't need to look at it again because I've seen it before. I'm getting too old for this guy.
Particularly in bowls.
Yes, we've had people in songs up here, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything. This guy standing up.
He's not.
He's
He's a ringing. He shouldn't be there.
so when you see the depth of the carving, does not match what we have here.
No, no, no. And then when we get to the far side,
And
we're
then
starting to.
Cross is something odd.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Ankh. It's not.
No, that's not an Ankh. That's what's weird about it. They didn't even get it right when they did it. Yeah, it's just like a mishmash. Now that could have been the deranged chick.
Like so-called Cheops of pyramid, when the guy just put throw with name Cheops inside with the wrong timeline, you know, and then
Yeah.
now everybody says Cheops.
Yeah, it's there to be a distraction from the truth. Yeah, the truth is too painful.
Yeah, distraction.
And you know all about that, Dr. Samir.
I agree.
And those glyphs, no one's spoken about. Now I have told the authorities about it, and they won't look at it. Because if they did, because we've read that one.
Oh, mind you, right where we're standing used to be the entrance to a
A 10
shaft.
metre tunnel, about this wide, and if you stood in it, your head would be down there, it wouldn't be up here. It's about 8 feet deep, and then when you go past there, it goes 10 metres all the way across there, and we have film of it. I've got photographs of it, and I can tell you on one occasion we came here, and they filled the whole thing in with rocks. And when we got there, I can tell you guys, but I'll be very careful about this. There was a guy that worked in a mine, wasn't there? And they put up a jack and a tripod, and they pulled out every rock. Pulled it all out. And I had to come in here with a camera on saying, oh my God, what's happened here? I had to put on this faux shot. Of, oh, look, it's all the rocks have been put there. Let's go inside and film it and have a look.
So, yeah, you've got right angles. The walls are straight, the roof is straight. And then underneath that's another chamber. And I had the end of the rope, he was in it, and then he just started swearing. And he's like, pull. I pulled him out and he said,
Spiders.
what's the fun with spiders?
All crawling all over him.
Oh,
It was a funnel web nursery. And he was crawling through it, and he was screaming out, "Get me out of here!" But it's like this: they're two straight walls like that, and it goes to high. It's about this high. Then when it gets into the cavern there, it's about 2.5 meters high. It's dug out, and there's no fill anywhere. And finally, quite recently, for a long time, National Parks and Wildlife said it was natural, didn't they?
Yeah.
Then they finally gave up and said it was done by vandals. I'm thinking the vandals from Europe or the ones here. And then I'm thinking to myself, these vandals, when they did this, they cleared up all the fill for us and didn't tag it.
Very constructive.
Oh, they are. But it's good that they didn't tag it and put their name on it and spoil it, isn't it? That wouldn't, vandals wouldn't do that, wouldn't they? They wouldn't sign their name. But we're going to take you now. It's only about 1 minute walk, and then we're going to go up there, and we'll go and we'll look at the map and the two spiritual sites. I'm particularly interested in how you two ladies go. Follow me now. Just watch your head when you go down there. A couple of times I've tried to headbutt this and it doesn't work.
Let's left this gear here, so coming back. Yeah, we can put your backpacks down here if you want.
All these rocks weren't in.
You okay?
Yeah, this isn't as easy to get through as it used to be. Where all the fluid dumped in.
Going off course?
You used to be able to fit the longest one.
The smell.
You'd be able to almost walk through there.
Different smell here.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Like an entrance for another world. That's the feeling.
Native sarsaparilla.
Sweet. Sweet and sour.
That?
Sweet and sour.
I know, right?
Okay, you might come over here to check. Pardon me, I'm in my system though. Don't get too far up that hill, please. That was the thing. You don't want people seeing it. Okay. Where we are now is the proof that that site over there is legitimate. Now, I want you to look up here, and I can see that there's been someone who's been here to create more damage, and I'm sort of used to it, but I don't like it. I want you to see if you can find for me what's happened here. There's something up here, there's a clue that tells you we're near a very sacred site. Can anyone see what it is? Oh, good start. Who said that? Right, okay. I want you to imagine, now that was done with a hammerstone. I want you to imagine how they did it. You've got to hold that. They take around about 900 to 1,000 percussion bowl points before it actually formed up like that. There's a big question about how in God's name that was done. Now secondly, that is not a star map. The star ones are always circular, that's more elliptical, which tells me it's called a dialanthen according to Arnie Bev. A dialanthen means we're near an incredibly sacred site. So, can anyone see that incredibly sacred site? Don't walk up any further, I don't want you cheating. If anyone does get it, you get a special reward because no one has ever seen it yet. Sorry?
Not the hole, is it?
That hole there. That's not it.
No.
But I can tell you someone's dug there because of that sacred site,
Yeah, right.
looking for treasure. See all this? This was dug out.
Yeah, right.
There's no respect for archaeology in Australia. I mean, I'm sure this wouldn't happen in Bosnia, but it happens here all the time. Anywhere. Okay. Can anyone see it? I'm going to give you a clue now. Part of it's been destroyed. Look up where there's just destruction.
I have the feeling that
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here and we'll do this in
lines there.
twos. Because you can only get 2 people up here because there's a gaping hole in here. Okay, and Dr. Sam, do you want to come up first? And 2 people. Right. And what I'm going to do, don't fall in the hole for God's sake, whatever you do. Come on up. As best you can.
Yeah, how did you just
Yeah.
fell in a hole?
Here it is. Different writing, okay, different creation, but we got someone when this was actually starting to wear away a fair bit. We found out that that lid there is Egyptian and it represents the staff carried by the pharaoh or the son of the pharaoh in death. We've got the coffin up here somewhere, and that means, according to Proto-Egyptian, back shaft or back door. You know that back shaft we spoke about? The son of the pharaoh, Nefertari, is laying in that coffin. And what do we have over there? Even though it's been scratched over again, but don't work on it, that's his insignia. Can I see a scorpion here? Now we don't have scorpions in Australia, but they do in Egypt. Now that's been scratched over, but I can tell you I went in there a time before it was scratched over when it was natural. So people are going to say it was done recently. No, some idiot came and redid it. But you know what the most amazing part of this is? Not this. There's something else here. And you know, I went here 6 times and never saw it until someone said, and watched it on film, and said, what's that? I said, what are you talking about? Can you see it? It's next to him. Keep looking. Don't go there, go away a bit, go to this side. And what's this? What do you get? Is that natural? Look, there's an overhang here. The water would go past here. This has been protected because there's an overhang here and we're in a sort of an enclosed area. But how did this happen here? That, I don't know how deep it is, but I think I've gone to a metre and I'm still going. Well, what's that? And how did they do it? Well, with a chisel, the Durranes check did this, and you can see this is a different script, can't you? Completely different from all the other scripts. So how many people have we got here now? 4. It's not one person, and no one ever said that Durranes check come up here and did this because they don't know about it. Oh, this person does. Yeah. Because he's looking for that star. We know about that because he was found doing it. He's come back twice. Evan, he came back a second time and went again.
Oh, did he?
Oh, that's a metre and a half. Yeah.
Because I hooked in the hole last time. I'm not hooking it this time, but I actually climbed it. Oh, there's a living there. Yeah. And that, I don't know if that was
No, it wasn't. It's been done, it's been broken. Next 2 up. We'll do 2 at a time only. And I'll do a special thing of one for the gentleman at the back. We'll bring the 2 ladies up here now. And I'll do one for the gentleman last up. Now the reason you couldn't see it is because you can't see this bloody engraving until you get up here. Come up to where I am. You sort of come up to about there and you come up close and we'll take you through it. Okay, we've got 2 sets of engravings here to tell me everything. The first one, that marker there is called the staff of the pharaoh, the son of the pharaoh. Nefertari is the son of Khufu. This one here says back door or back shaft. Proto-Egyptian. That's not. This one up here is coffin. This is a direction pointer. So what we're saying is the son of the pharaoh is in the back shaft, that direction, and was buried. Well, that's exactly what happened. Over there, you find out who it is. And lo and behold, what's his totem? It's a scorpion. Well, we don't do scorpions for totems in Australia, but they do in another country. It's called Egypt. And you've got the staff there. And then the important part of this story is not that. It's not that. What is it? Come on, because the last group didn't get it. Come on, you could improve. You could do very well if you could try to point it out. Oh, you get an X. Oh no, forget that. Forget that. Point at that. Very good. What's this? I'm still going. See that? How did that happen? You got no answer. I haven't either. I can tell you one thing. It's not natural because the water would go over that, and it wouldn't erode like that anyway. So that is an enigma above all other things.
And also that rock, they're different. This rock is
Yes,
like
it is.
worn
Yeah.
over it.
And there's also engravings up there that are worn away. They did both. That would have been to identify who died, and this would be tell us where they are,
Where they are. Yeah.
which legitimises the whole glyphs. Because it's a different, you can see again, the person who did this wasn't any of the people over there.
Totally. Yeah.
And by the way, there was a stone chisel that was found underneath there. Stone chisel. Okay, and that sort of sums it up, doesn't it? And I've seen a picture of it, I've got a picture of it. And the two people who found it are both fighting over it. They both said they both own it. And they're both children. It doesn't belong to any of us, it belongs to our country. It's our heritage.
That's amazing.
It is.
So nice when you see it from over there, you cannot see it. That
No, you can't see. That's why I
rock
asked
is
people what
actually
yeah, I said to people, what is it? You can't see it.
inside.
Okay, one more to go. And then we go back up, we go upstairs then.
See how I'm on this lid?
Tell us about the stars.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Circles.
What that means when it crisscrossed.
Some sort of energy line, I think, but maybe this fella knows. What do you think? These
They're internal energy that comes up from the earth. That's all it really is. I don't know whether it was consciously summoned when they were more in control of the land or not, but it just seems to well up around here. There's a number of different ones, and they're all over there too. So if you run your rods over it, they usually intersect.
Yeah.
If I walk past,
Wow.
that happens.
That's
all of
pretty
those ones,
cool.
particularly the ones you see like this.
Oh.
They seem to move. They seem to be.
Which turns out to be 4,600 years ago. Which happens to be the time of the reign of Kufu. Because the story was two of the sons came in. Now this was not done by Egyptians. It was done by original people. And my argument has been, this is directly above the glyphs. And when the Egyptians first came here, they marked this out to commemorate their arrival. Because it was an important event. They came here. So those 13, I've got the map, and when we get up to Byron I'll find it and I'll show it to you, and we can take a picture of it and put it in there. And it's got them written on it, and they definitely did it. But what they said is, they basically played dumb and said, oh look, we know something about it, but we don't know where it is. Well, they were lying, because it was sent to me, and it definitely has they've done it. So that means that will be one of the oldest star maps in the world. To begin with, even if it wasn't commemorating that, this mark made this site worth saving. Because if it's not one of the, if it's not the oldest, it's one of the oldest star maps that's been dated by a university at 2500 BC, which is around 4,600 years ago. So therefore, what we're looking at is proof that something amazing happened around here at that time. And what do we have? We've got the glyphs over there that tell us someone was buried, the son of a pharaoh was buried, pointed in the direction and said, go to the back shaft. Well, we can't go to the back shaft now, can we? It's been pulled up by National Parks and Wildlife, thank you so much for that. But it was there, and I've got pictures of it. And as you know, I've got a bone that came from there and an artefact that came from there. So we can prove that's legit too. So therefore, this is just another piece of this puzzle. And what you've got to try and do with this is not just look at the glyphs, look at all the things around it, and you complete a picture. So what this is another part of this story of something amazing that happened here a long, long time ago. Now,
How many stars has he mapped? How many stars, what star constellation you're talking about?
well, I've got to be honest, I don't really know and I didn't count it, but the best way to solve that is I'll get the copy of it when we're up at Byron Bay, I'll show it to you. Okay, and it gives me more details there because I've just looked at it, and I've got to be very honest. I go out at night and I can't even find a star-crossed. I'm useless with stars. I've got no idea. I know where Venus is because it doesn't twinkle, and that's my sum total there. And I want to be very honest about that. So I looked at it and said, well, thank God for that. It's been confirmed. But I'll get the map. We've got it, haven't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah. We'll look at it and we can get more detail with it. But what it does, and of course because Sydney Uni denied that they did it, but they did, just shows you that it must be legit. I mean, if they did it and marked it out and saw the date, they would have thought, oh no, we don't want this. And what you'll find also is over there's a puddle. Remember what I told you before about over here when we do the puddles, so we get a reflection of the stars above? I would say to you that 4,600 odd years ago, when the Egyptians turned up, they came up here, they looked at that puddle, and they marked out those stars and put them just here to commemorate the fact they came. Now you ask the original people, the Egyptians here, I ask Auntie Bevan, you ask most of them, I'll tell you the same thing. Of course they were. But they came here to learn from us. And they didn't learn how to build pyramids, don't worry, they got that up there. They didn't learn about technology, they came here to learn earth magic. And our custodians were the keepers of that. And the Egyptians wanted to know about the afterlife, they wanted to know about spirituality. And that's why it was the sons of the pharaohs who came here. This is not a trip for most people. My understanding of what I've been told is they would sail down the coast of Africa when the roaring 40s were working and then catch the 40s and race across to Tasmania because it just wind would take them that way. They went to Kangaroo Island in Tasmania and then come up the east coast. And they came up the east coast and the first place they came to was here, and when they came back further they also went to Sydney. And if they came into Sydney they went inland. They came up here, they stayed around here. They go to Kangaroo Island, they went to South Australia. There were stopping points for them. And they were here until 400 years ago. And an elder I met recently told me the story about how they left. His name was Wallengarry, wasn't it?
Yes.
Wallengarry. I can use his name. He told me. He's a Pitchin Jatjara man. And he told me that 400 years ago they came. The priests came. But you've got to remember 400 years ago, this is not the priests from Khufu or any of them. It's a different mob, isn't it? And they've got different sensibilities. They came to Sydney and they went inland, Pitchin Jatjara country, which is right in the middle of Australia. And it was there they stole 4 rocks. And as you people know, where is one rock? Huh? Oh, thank God for that. Thanks, mate. Okay. Thanks. I'm not very well organised, am I, Evan?
No.
Thank you. They stole 4 rocks, and I was told by Wallengarry 2 of the rocks had cuneiform on them. You see why they're important. And they went back. And what happened was when they went back, the warriors, the Pitchin Jatjara warriors, tracked them all the way until they came back to the beach. And when they came back to the beach, do you remember what beach it was?
Balmoral.
Thank you. Thank you. This is why I have people around me. Thanks, mate. Balmoral Beach. They killed them. They speared them all and told the Egyptians they would never come back. And they didn't. That was 400 years ago. Then a couple of 100 years later, another set of boats came in. And they tried to tell them not to come back, but they did. And that was called the British. But until then, the Spanish have been here and left. The Chinese have been here and left. But when the British came, and the French came 2 days later, they came and landed on the other side on La Perouse. And then there was a war that took place, and the French left, and they all died on the way back. But the moral of the story was this. We invited different people to come to our country over millennia. They were welcome to come here as apprentices to learn from our keepers the old way, the magicians, the clever women, the clever fellas. And we were happy to share our magic with them, unless they broke the law.
Yeah.
The Phoenicians didn't stay as long, they were here too. And we know all this, and if you ask any elder, they'll tell you the same story. But we try and tell the white fellas that. They won't listen. They won't listen. Now our job's to try and find some proof so they will listen. And that hasn't worked out well, has it? Anyway, that's about it.
May I ask, like, law, if there would be one law, which one you think would be most important? Which one would you point out as?
The law I would point out first, and I'll explain it in the form of a ceremony. I watched this ceremony, it's the only one that's ever been filmed like this, and it sums up what that law would be. It's the law where a husband and wife, their first child is born. And this will sum it up for you. What happens is when the child is born, the husband's not allowed to see the child. Because remember, conception had nothing to do with him. This is the law. The conception was between the spirits, the soul of the child, and the woman. The man just supplies an endless supply of sperm. They'll make the decision when it's done. Now, when that child was born, what happens is for 1 week, it stays with the grandmother and the mother. Father doesn't see. Then finally, after a week, when I saw the ceremony, he was laying on the ground, so were the women. Next to all women, the women made a circle around him, and the grandmother came out with the child, brushing the flies away. And then what happened was, at the finish, they laid the child on the husband's chest. For 1 minute, he got to hold the child and see the child. And then after that, it was taken away from him. Right? And the women will decide when he gets to see the child again. And finally, the child becomes his as well as his wife's. But it's already his wife's now. So what I'm getting at is the most important law is this. Women's magic is stronger than men's magic. Around our way, if you ask the young men around there what spirit they fear the most, they'll all say the same one, won't they, Evan?
Yep.
What is it? Who are they scared of?
Oh, the
Durangan.
Durangan, yep, up near
Female spirit.
Longcap.
Because the magic of women is stronger than the magic of men. Our dreaming stories talk about the first time when we had magic. The women had the magic first and they had a dilly bag. And the men's brother stole it off the sister. And they all said, you're going to kill him. Because he broke the law of the women's law. He said, no, let him have the dilly bag. And he said, because whatever magic he makes, he can't create a child. So our magic is always stronger. Because we are made to create. They are not. So we were allowed to carry the dilly bag with the magic in there, the rocks and stuff like that. But the strongest magic is with the women. So the most important thing I could share about original culture is that women were regarded when it came to magical issues. And when it comes to food, they got 80% of the food. We didn't catch a kangaroo every day. Try and catch one of the bloody things. They move at 60 k's and they can move 4 times in one direction. They fed us. In fact, there's a beautiful story about when boys were first given initiation. The boys would be taken away by the men and they'd lay down and sleep that night, and the women would kidnap the boys. And they would take them away and they'd repeat this mantra. It is from a woman who will feed you. It is a woman who gave birth to you. It is a woman you will marry. And they'd repeat that all night long and then bring the boys back. And when the women were gone, the men would wake up and say, well, what happened? And they'd say, oh, we were taken away. Oh, no, don't tell us about that. That's women's stuff. So before they were cut as boys, the women had to get in their ear to teach them the real truth. So the real truth is, when you talk about it, this is a matrilineal society. 98% of the tribes proclaimed to be matrilineal. Well, that was wrong. The 2% that weren't, there was something going wrong there. It's a matrilineal society. The leader is like with the elephants. It's the grandmother. The grandmother is the leader of the elephants. The grandmother here will be the leader of the tribe. So that's the greatest skill of original culture. They worked out that women were the creators, women were the magicians, and our job was to protect them. Protect them. I mean, by law, if you were a male and you yelled at a woman that wasn't your wife, you'd be bashed to within an inch of your life. Yeah, your husband could yell at you. That's okay. There was that. You could do that. But for anyone else, you couldn't touch a woman. You couldn't yell at her. You'd be in trouble. By the way, the same rules apply for dingoes. Did you know that?
No.
You can't hit a dingo.
Sorry, you can't.
You can't hit a dingo.
Yeah.
They hunt with you. They work with you. You treat them like people. We've got a dreaming story when the great separation took place. All the animals went one way. We went the other way. The dingoes were in the middle, and we pulled them across to join us. So they're part of our tribe. So our laws are very specific. You can't hurt a dog, and you can't hurt women. But guess what? If you've got a society like that, you're off to a good start. Whatever comes after that is just minor. So that would, to me, would be the most important thing that original society had. Utter respect for women in every shape and form. That's important. And they're the ones, by the way, when men are fighting. If I want to fight someone, say Dr. Samir kept showing off an archaeologist, I couldn't get any right if I had to punch him now. I'd have to find a woman to adjudicate on the fight. And when she tells me to stop, I must stop. And if I don't, they'll bash me again because I didn't listen to the woman. So see, even when we're fighting, we have to get the permission of a woman to begin the fight. So it creates a different society. You've got to remember, we never lived in tribes, we lived in clans, which is maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 families. That's it. We've got to get on. We can't afford to have fights. We can't afford to have gossip and things that we have now. It won't work. We've got to cooperate with everything we do. And if you're cooperating with the women, this week, everything works out. So that's what makes this tribe different. Not anymore. A lot of women don't get treated that well by Aboriginal men now, do they? But that's because they've lost their way. I'm not criticising that because that's the same with white men too. They've lost their way and they've lost their culture. We can take the boys out and give them ceremony again, they'll learn and they'll come back. But that's not happening yet.